I really know how lame it is to come onto YouTube and watch YouTubers talking with each other about YouTube. But it's part of our lives. If you make YouTube videos, if you spend your time interacting with other people, making friends on YouTube, it's like the old days. There used to be shortwave radio, ham radio, and when people make friends over this type of radio, the first thing you're going to talk about is how to use this special radio, right? If you make friends over YouTube, right away, right off the bat, when you first meet them, if you start talking, the one thing you've got in common is that you're both on YouTube. Of course, if you're both vegan and you're on vegan YouTube, you're going to talk about vegan YouTube. It's not an intentionally constructed echo chamber. It's not an intellectual ghetto. But like I did a conversation yesterday. We did a 2-hour broadcast. We recorded a podcast together with a guy who uses the nickname Dumb Vegan. Obviously, the name's a joke. And because he's a vegan on YouTube and I'm a vegan on YouTube, it's the first time we've ever talked. Naturally, you're going to talk about what you have in common. So you talk about vegan YouTube. Apologies, but it's a real part of my life. And when I meet these people, when we first strike up conversation, naturally, it's one of the things you first talk about off the bat. Okay? Under that heading, under that rubric, one of the things we all end up talking about is who is crossing the line. What is the line? What are the ethical lines? Or what are even the lines of good taste, of good conduct here on YouTube? What we do in this digital vegan debutante as aspiring activists, as aspiring advocates for veganism, as people who want to make the world a better place, or in some cases, as shameless fame whores who are just trying to get their 5,000 views and their $80 a month in AdSense revenue or whatever they make. Because different people play the game by different rules. Different people have different objectives. And, like anything else, I mean, ultimately, YouTube is an art form. It's just barely an art form. It's a very spare art form. But questions of what is good taste, what is good content, what's a positive contribution, those questions will always be there. They're there for the theater. They're there for stand-up comedy. They're there for radio. What we do, I mean, as an art form, obviously, it's similar to radio broadcasters. If you come on every day and try to talk about politics on the radio, or you try to talk about your own life on the radio, whatever it is you talk about, there are going to be those questions. When you crossing the line, who's crossing the line, etc. When I first started talking to Vegan Gains, years ago now, I think, his channel was new, etc. One of the first topics of conversation I had with him was I was really telling him that I thought he was crossing the line. For me, it's not a legal line, but for me, I think whipping out a knife on camera is crossing a line. I think whipping out a gun on camera is crossing a line. Now, I believe he's only used fake guns on camera. He's whipped out a gun. But I don't think that's cool. Now, it's different when it's a sketch comedy or a drama or a script. If you're acting out a scene from Hamlet, you use a sword. If you're acting out a scene from Macbeth, that's different. But I did think back in the start of his channel, I really said to him, look, from my perspective, this is the line and you're crossing the line. So I completely sympathize with the fact that other people write to me, and from their perspective, they're saying that I'm crossing the line. That's part of what we do on YouTube. So with that caveat having been stated, yeah, here I am, a vegan on YouTube, talking about vegan YouTube. This is how you get stuck into the echo chamber, but it's also a legitimate set of ethical and political questions, and it's even a legitimate set of artistic and entertainment-related questions, right? But I just say, sorry, to come back to Vegan Gains briefly, Onision, he has a gun on camera all the time, but he's acting out a script. I don't think Onision has ever whipped out a gun or a knife and made threats to people in real life, that kind of thing. So, I mean, drawing the line. It's a conversation that may never end for us here on YouTube. And obviously, ultimately, with Durianrider, he made real threats of violence against me. He really defamed me, etc. And I had to draw a line in more ways than one. And now we got a court case together. And he can pretend the court case is fake, but he knows it's real. And the court case, again, may end in failure. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. And it's totally possible that the judge is just going to throw it out of court and say, yeah, good story, bro. We don't care. We ain't giving you no justice. Happens. It's the way court systems work. You plead your case. You find out what the judge wants to do with it. So I got a message here from a guy named Andrew. Now, this is also interesting to me in a sense. Anyone could have read this message from Andrew and treated him as a troll, or treated him as mean-spirited, treated him as insincere, and it's just a choice. I chose to reply to this, assuming that he was sincerely raising these questions about me crossing the line. And in this case, I think we had a more meaningful conversation for that reason. Now, I just want to say, I disagree with Andrew. I'm not angry at Andrew. I'm not offended. I really disagree with him. And a big part of what we do in politics, what we need to be able to do, is disagree with our fellow man without hating on him. Okay, hate. You know what? Even hate is permissible in politics, okay? Within the Republican Party, there's hatred. Within the Conservative Party, there's hatred. Within the Liberals and the NDP. You know what? Even hatred is not crossing the line, okay? But, I mean, if we're going to hate each other, let's hate each other while maintaining our own dignity and while giving other people some sort of dignity. But understandably, Andrew here is challenging me because he thinks I've crossed the line, and I disagree. So let's talk about that for 1 minute here. Andrew says, quote, I watched you trash Freelee and Durianrider for months before you went to Chiang Mai. Your deeply ad hominem attacks were brutal. You were angry, resentful, and in my opinion, appeared hell-bent on their destruction. You used words like idiots, stupid, fraud, fake, mentally ill, scumbag, and many more that I do not recall off the top of my head. You also bashed their festival, their festival, the people who attend the festival, and a certain brand of vegan YouTubers generally. Pause. Okay, so I'm going to stop reading the quote now and just respond to that right off the bat. I don't think Andrew is doing this intentionally, but he is misrepresenting what I said just by depriving these things of their context. Context matters, intention matters, ultimately even your tone of voice matters, blah, blah, blah. There are many contexts in which it would be defamation, and in my opinion would be a crime, and would be crossing the line to call someone mentally ill. There are many contexts in which I think that would be bad and immoral and wrong, and when I would delete my own video if I had said that by accident, if I said it spontaneously or something, and then later I would regret it, definitely calling someone insane or mentally ill, claiming that they're legally speaking insane, I think is serious defamation. Okay? So I would agree, if I were guilty with that I was crossing a line. Durianrider, I quoted him verbatim. I read his own description, his own statement that he had been diagnosed as insane. I read, and we put the text on screen so you could see the text, you could hear my voice reading it. I read his descriptions of how he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and other serious mental disorders. And I told people, my message was, it wasn't an insult, it wasn't defamation. My message was, this is somebody who's admitted to you he has serious mental illnesses, and you're choosing to ignore that warning. It's not even me warning you. I was telling the audience, you need to recognize how serious it is that this man says medical professionals have diagnosed him with these disorders. That's his claim. I'm not defaming him by quoting that claim, or in other videos by briefly summarizing it, as I just did. That's not defamation. That's not even an insult. And the warning to the audience is obviously very meaningful in this context, the particular political dispute I have with Durianrider. Okay? So to say this man, by his own description, says he's been diagnosed with schizophrenia. Very important. Point 2, why do I raise it at all? Why does it come up? Well, yes, there's a broader political context of Durianrider's political leadership. There are other issues. There's Durianrider defaming, denouncing, attacking other people. There are other ethical issues. But, above all else, he also claimed that he cured his schizophrenia, and he claimed that you also can cure your schizophrenia. He attacked and denounced the whole medical establishment. He has many videos describing doctors as scam artists, describing all medication as a scam, and specifically laying into psychiatrists, the psychiatric profession, any kind of mental health profession as a scam, and saying you should not take meds. Like if you're currently prescribed meds for a psychiatric condition, you should just stop, you should quit your meds. And him setting out his philosophy and his diet plan for how you should heal yourself. This is serious business, okay? This, now, I do not know if they are true. I have seen people say on the internet they followed Durianrider's advice and it had negative effects on their lives, that they quit their medication, etc. It is very easy to imagine someone being convinced by this, a charismatic personality on the internet, claiming that you don't need, that your doctor is a scam artist, your doctor is lying to you, your medication is not making you healthy, it's making you sick. The type of approach he has obviously has very real negative impacts for people. So for me to come on and critique that and expose that and address that, that is not at all what you're describing here, Andrew, as coming on the internet, hell-bent on someone's destruction, calling them idiot, stupid, fraud, fake, mentally ill. Now, I do not think Andrew was intentionally lying here. I don't think he's even... That's just how he remembers it. That's just how he feels about it. I appreciate that. I really think he's being sincere, but he's also wrong. So another one he has here is the word fraud. On this channel, I very specifically addressed Freelee's claims to having a certificate or diploma that she does not in fact have. My video was very reasonable. I got in touch with the university. It's not really a university, the training institute that her diploma or certificate is from. It's not really a university, no shade, but whatever. It's a training institute. I got in touch with them. I scrutinized her claim about what her diploma was supposed to be. And in that video, I was very generous. I said, look, I'm willing to assume that she's telling the truth based on what she says and what this institution, this educational institution says. I'm willing to assume she's not lying. Professional journalists at a newspaper in Australia, they looked into it, and they concluded that she was lying. Okay? Why would you use the word fraud to describe someone who gives dietary and medical advice and who claims to have credentials they don't have? Again, it could be crossing the line. All right? Yes, it could be crossing the line to say this sort of thing about someone, to say that they're a fraud or to say that they're mentally ill. By taking it out of context this way, it is very clear I was not crossing the line. Okay? Now, to be honest with you, when I started making this video, I thought I would read this whole message and read my reply. This is 11 minutes long. I think I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I think that is the fundamental point I want to communicate with you right now. Maybe hearing you now with the chat, I'll read the rest of the message and we can talk about it. But I admit it sounds self-indulgent when YouTubers come on and talk about YouTube, talk about when we cross the line, etc. What's really self-indulgent is what you're doing in this message. If you want to engage in a sincere critique of me and what I have to say, it's not just a matter of context. You have to look at the intention. You have to look at what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. You have to look at this as a real dispute within a real political struggle. Because veganism is a political movement, whether you like it or not, whether you admit it to yourself or not. The same way that political leaders get criticized for their claims, I have to criticize someone like Durianrider for lying to you about medication and the nature of psychiatric help, psychiatric care. I have to criticize Freelee for spreading false pseudoscientific information about your calorie intake, about how much exercise you need to burn 4,000, 5,000 calories and lose weight, for lying about whether or not you should eat garlic because garlic is a neurotoxin. Yes, these are actually meaningful questions for me as someone who regards veganism as a political movement, is concerned about the future of veganism. It's not just ad hominem. It's not meaningless bashing or something. This, to me, this is real and this is meaningful. If to you it's not, that's okay. But actually, if you, Andrew, in writing this comment or making your own videos, you should have the same level of respect for me that I showed to Durianrider. I went and I got the text of exactly what Durianrider said about his own schizophrenia. I didn't just defame him. I didn't just make shit up. I addressed what he said, how he said it, why he said it. And, to Durianrider's credit, he replied to me addressing the substance. He had a video that was called I 10,000% cured Crohn's disease. My video critiquing his claim to have cured an incurable disease, he replied to the substance of that. And I respect him for that. That, he didn't just denounce me or defame me. He didn't, at that time, he didn't just say, yeah, well, your girlfriend is only 18 years old or something. He actually saw my video in which I criticized his pseudo-medical claim to having cured an incurable disease, in which he's telling other people that they also can cure their diseases, etc. And he doubled down and he defended his position. I respect that. Okay? You guys, if you want to be my critics, if you want to tackle me, you think I'm so disrespectful to Freelee and Durianrider because words like fraud appear in there. Fraud used in a completely reasonable sense. If you lie about your university credentials or your certificates of education, the educational qualifications you have, it is not unreasonable to describe that as a fraud. Not at all. Okay? Talking about someone as mentally ill in this context, again, okay? So if you want to take me down, if you want to criticize me, please do. But if you think I'm so disrespectful to Durianrider and Freelee, I can ask you on the contrary, why don't you rise to my level? Why don't you show me as much respect for what I actually said in criticizing me as I show Freelee and Durianrider, because I don't invent stuff out of thin air. I'm criticizing their actual political positions, their actual promises, the actual pseudoscience within their diet. I'm criticizing the real problems within their part of the vegan movement and the problems with the direction they were dragging the vegan movement towards. And that's real. And for a lot of you, that's how you discovered my YouTube channel. And that's why you're still here listening to me. Because there's nothing entertaining, there's nothing sexy, there's nothing appealing about these videos. I'm not telling you what you want to hear. I'm not selling you a dream. I'm not lying to you about the bright future of veganism. I'm not lying to you that you can eat 5,000 calories a day and get no exercise and still lose weight. I'm not even selling you a dream vacation in Thailand, okay? But you're still here listening because on some level, you know that it's real.